This is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from April McLeish. And April has this question. Is the soul enslaved by the body? That is to say, is the soul enslaved by the process of incarnation and reincarnation? And she goes on to ask, does the soul have a choice in whether it reincarnates, and can it, if it wishes, remain in an energetic form indefinitely? And my answer to this is that I certainly wouldn't call it an enslavement. And yes, I do believe that the soul can choose not to reincarnate, and I believe that when it does choose to incarnate, that it is involved in every choice involved in this. That the parents, the place, the time, the conditions are all things that the soul is part of choosing. Although I will not say that every choice is always possible. But I believe very much that we design our lives, we set up the lessons that are there for us to be learned, and we basically lay it out ourselves in connection with spirit and or whatever mechanism there is, and that our lives are much more in our own control than we realize. Having said that, on the question of whether the soul can choose not to incarnate, I think that very much it can choose not to, and that it is very much a matter of its own choice. But will it choose not to? That is another question. And I would compare it not to an enslavement, but rather perhaps to an attraction. I think that as long as there are lessons to be learned here in the physical world, the soul is attracted back into incarnation. I don't think it's ever forced. I think it very much has a choice, but I think that attraction continues to pull it in a very strong way. And I would compare it perhaps to an itch. If you have an itch, you want to scratch. You can choose not to scratch that itch, but that can be difficult sometimes if the itch continues to itch. And your choice not to scratch it in many ways goes against your instincts. It goes against what you would naturally want to do, but you can choose to do that. And I think for the soul, incarnation is the same way. As long as it has lessons in the physical world, it will be strongly attracted to reincarnate in the same way that you're attracted to scratch that itch. And only when that itch goes away will you be able to not scratch it easily, and only when those lessons have been learned can the soul easily choose not to incarnate. And I will say also that the best depiction I have seen of this comes from a movie called The Adding Machine, which is based on a play by the same name. The movie was made in, I want to say 1969, stars Milo O'Shea and Phyllis Diller, which will tell you that it's a rather eclectic movie, and it involves the story of a man who dies and goes to the afterlife. And in the afterlife he finds that everything he could ever want is there for the taking. No one denies him anything. He can choose any activity, anything that he wants. It's all there. And when he asks if he can stay forever, he is told that only the most blessed remain. Anyone can remain, but only the most blessed do. And what he finds is that although all these things are available, they're not satisfying because he still has inner issues that need to be dealt with. And eventually he's drawn back into incarnation. Now, his lady friend, who has also died and gone into the afterlife, does not appear to have these same internal issues, and she appears to be one of those blessed souls who don't need to return again, and she simply enjoys her time there. And I think that this is kind of what it is like for the soul. If you still have things to work on in this world of physical incarnation, you will be attracted back to it. Not forced to it, but attracted back to it, even though while you're here you may think you wouldn't be. And if you have in fact resolved all of those issues, well, then perhaps you will remain there. And who knows what many wonderful things may be awaiting there. But first you have to finish these lessons. And will anyone force you to finish them? No, I don't think so. But I think that the process of stepping out of them is harder than people would imagine. And it is, as I've spoken about many times in the vlog, I think a process of attachment. We attach to these lessons, and until we release those attachments, we are drawn back to them. And the lessons that we have to learn are partly because of other things that have happened in our soul, partly because of the nature of our monad, partly because of the nature of existence itself. And I think that what you will find is that the more you work to resolve the attachments that you carry, the more you'll find that the world can actually be quite a lovely place. And the people who are carrying the most attachments are the ones who are having the least fun because they're caught in their attachments. And that's certainly not to say that this physical world does not have its problems always, but how they affect individuals, I think, have a lot to do with the attachments they do or do not carry. So those would be my thoughts on the matter. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Please join me for our Correllian Peace Prayer. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability. I pray for the nation where I live. I pray for the world. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from witchschool.com. Are you looking for the best in pagan and magical education? With more than 12,000 pages, witchschool.com is like having your own personal library with individual learning assistants to help you study. And Witch School's Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere education system is available any place on Earth, anywhere you are and anytime you want it, as long as you have an internet connection. Witch School's lifetime memberships are a great value. They really do last a lifetime. They've been there for years and they'll be there for years to come. So get your membership today at witchschool.com.